In this episode of The Daily Dish, the cover athlete has been announced for MLB 15 The Show, and TJ Lauerman joins me to talk about the news. The four legends being added to EA Sports UFC are now known and will be coming very soon, examining the latest Madden NFL 15 roster update and a summary of the roster updates lately for NBA 2K15. Sony just announced that Dodgers outfielder Yasiel Puig has received the honor of being on the cover of MLB 15 The Show, and they released the official cover art along with the news. TJ Lauerman, aka That Sports Gamer, is here with me for a few minutes to discuss the decision. TJ, what's your initial reaction to Puig being named for the cover?
I'm actually very surprised. No one is going to argue that Yasiel Puig is the best player in baseball, and not many people would even really argue that he's the best player on his team after Clayton Kershaw just won the MVP and Cy Young for the National League. It's a very interesting pick. I can kind of see what they're doing. Recently, we've had a lot of big Cuban talent come into baseball. So I was actually thinking that Jose Abreu of the White Sox was going to have a really good shot of taking the cover this year, even after just a stupendous rookie season.
Yeah, Puig, to me, I think everybody remembers what happens at the end of seasons. Whether if it was going to be Kershaw, people would have harped on it because he's had a poor postseason. Puig had a poor postseason as well, and he played poorly even in September. He ended up getting benched in the playoffs. As the very first commenter on the site for this story said, he's wearing thin even with Dodgers fans. As a pure baseball fan, TJ, in general, does he seem like someone you'd want to be the face of your baseball franchise or your video game series?
Probably not, and I speak for myself. And I think Don Mattingly, who has already had to bench him a couple times. I mean, he played 148 games this year, which is almost a full season. But yeah, he's had off-the-field issues, getting into fights with everybody. Pitchers on opposing teams don't love the bat flip, but I think everybody else does. But yeah, as you said, postseason performance, I was really expecting another guy. I mean, I had a lot of expectations of people that could have been on the cover. I definitely thought Madison Bumgarner was going to be a front runner after his phenomenal postseason performance.
Yeah, Bumgarner was one who would have stood out. Maybe the postseason stuff happens too late, and they've already signed agreements or they've already made decisions. But Bumgarner certainly, Mike Trout, Kershaw, Giancarlo Stanton, Felix Hernandez, just a few off kind of the top of my head there. That would have made a lot of sense. And this is a series that basically started in 1997, and there's never been a pitcher on the cover. I thought this could have been, maybe should have been the year to break that streak.
Yeah, that's what I was really expecting, especially with the phenomenal performances we've seen from Kershaw and Bumgarner recently.
Yeah. So SCEA, they do have a prior relationship with Puig. I mean, he was on their stream for the show's PS4 version back in April. He's got a big personality. It's divisive, though, and he doesn't really have the spokesperson mentality other than his personality shining through. So I think what they're going for here is a level of passion that represents the product. That part of it I can understand, but in terms of pure baseball and in terms of fan reaction, I'm not sure this is going to generate maybe the hype that they would hope.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's also, as you mentioned, it was all pitcher. There haven't been nearly any pitchers on the cover. He's also one of the youngest players at only 23 years old, and he's only had a total of 35 home runs, which I'm fairly positive, without actually doing the research, might be the lowest home run totals for one of the cover athletes in the show's franchise.
But they are memorable home runs because of his bat flip and because of his celebrations and his emotion. It gets on the nerves of people. I mean, if you go, the St. Louis Cardinals fan base absolutely hates him, right?
Yeah. And it's funny you mention that, because one of those things that we always see with Madden is the cover athlete kind of tells you what they're going to do with the game a little bit. Like when Mike Vick was on the cover, we started getting into the much more mobile quarterbacks, and Ray Lewis came on the cover, and big shift towards defense. I'm kind of hoping that having Puig on the cover is going to bring maybe a lot more like personality to the players on the field, or even in their batting stances. Because I've been thinking, just like taking screenshots, playing MLB The Show. I feel like there's maybe 5 home run swings, and like 3 or 4 different little celebrations. So hopefully they can bring more personality to the players this year in the game.
Yeah, and the presentation along with it. I think that would be a really good thing for the series if that's true, if that's what he's there to represent. So Thanks, TJ, for coming on to talk about the cover news for the show. I'm sure you'll be back on to talk more as news breaks on the show in coming weeks and months. Everyone, make sure to follow TJ on Twitter. @ThatSportsGamer is his tag, and check out thatsportsgamer.com. A few weeks ago, EA Sports began to promote the quote-unquote Legends were coming to UFC. It seemed to signify a big push with the hopes that it could bring UFC back onto the map in a very competitive time of the year. The game has improved significantly since it released back in June through 5 patches, but the company lost its chance to sell it when it arrived to such a disappointing response back then. However, in recent days, the game being available for under $14 has made its appeal rise again to where maybe some people were going to give it a chance yet again, or for the very first time. Unfortunately, the Legends announcement turned out to be underwhelming. The positive thing is that it's expected to be free. The roster will be expanding by 4, with Brock Lesnar, Mark Coleman, Matt Hughes, and Quentin Rampage Jackson, the new additions. It doesn't appear there will be any type of new mode accompanying them. They'll just make for 18 fighters now added to the roster since the game came out. They're nice to have, certainly, but bringing in only 4 legends who have all been in the other UFC games in recent years isn't that big a deal. But then again, at the price the game could be had recently, and these fighters being free, the complaint is more with the promotion and teasing of them than the actual bonus content being provided. Another important note on the 4 legends coming to EA Sports UFC, with the news dropping after the recording of that last segment, they'll be added to the game on Wednesday, December 10th, and it's also now official that they will in fact be free. The latest Madden NFL 15 roster update is out, and that incorporates performances primarily from Week 13 and those leading up to it. The most interesting thing to watch for this week was whether EA would quietly add Ray Rice back into the game. If you remember, they stripped him out completely in September, even removing him from Ultimate Team, where in his place became Baltimore halfback with a silhouette. EA took advantage of the PR opportunity back then, but hasn't been consistent since, as Adrian Peterson and Greg Hardy have found themselves in comparable situations, but have remained active in the game. Ray Rice won his appeal against the NFL and is now reinstated, officially a free agent. EA did not add him back in this week, however. It looks like they're just going to avoid it altogether, unless he's actually signed by a team. Players on the rise this week include Richard Sherman and Calvin Johnson, who now sit at 98 overall. Gerald McCoy, Luke Kuechly, Robert Quinn, Jason Peters, DeAndre Hopkins, and Matt Stafford. Among those falling are Joe Thomas, Eric Weddle, Jimmy Graham, Tony Romo, Patrick Peterson, and Colin Kaepernick. Check out all the ratings changes in the spreadsheet hosted on Pastapadre.com. You can find links in the YouTube description and the Daily Dish posting on the site. 2K Sports' dedication to roster updates with NBA 2K15 has been deserving of recognition. The series has never been supported very well post-release in the past. Up through November 22nd, though, they had released an update nearly every day since the game came out. However, things have been a little spotty since. Nearly 2 weeks passed without any ratings changes, and in one stretch of 10 days, there was only one update, affecting only rotations and accessories. In the last couple days, though, there have been some ratings changes made. Most significantly is Anthony Davis, who's playing at an MVP level. He goes up 2 points to 94 overall. That means in the 6 weeks since the season began, Davis has risen 6 points to become tied with Kevin Durant as the second highest rated players in the game, behind only LeBron James. Check out all the ratings changes made for the last 2 weeks of NBA 2K15 in the spreadsheet posted on Pastapadre.com. I've linked to it in the YouTube description, as well as the Daily Dish posting on the site. That'll do it for the Daily Dish today. Make sure to check out Pastapadre.com every day for all the latest sports gaming news and analysis. Follow me on Twitter at Pastapadre and subscribe on YouTube. I'll be back soon with another Daily Dish.